This is a video to go over the answers to yesterday's homework from section 12.1. Starting with the more practice, number 1, about gender and fear of going to the dentist. We have a two-way table, and first we're asked to see if there's a difference and test the claim with the test. Hypotheses. Null. The population proportion of men is equal to the proportion of women. The alternative, the two proportions are not equal. First, we calculate the proportion for males. In the table, it was 15 out of 500 for men that were afraid, 45 out of 600 for women. 3% of men, 45 out of 600, 7.5% of women. We also need to calculate p-hat, the pooled proportion. When we combine the x's and n's together, 60 total out of 1,100 are afraid to go to the dentist, or 0.055. Our point estimate. The difference between the two proportions is negative 0.045. Standard error. Here you see the calculation. Comes out as 0.0138. Z-score. Negative 0.045 minus 0 over the standard error gives us a z-score of 3.26, which gives us a probability of 0, even after doubling. So conclusion, we have strong evidence that women are more afraid since there is a 0% chance of the samples being 0.045 different, our point estimate, if H sub O is true. So yes, we have evidence that women are more afraid of men based off of this data. Take a look at the confidence interval. Here's the work. Negative 0.07 and negative 0.02. So 2 to 7% more females are afraid than males. Second one, tracking drugs, see if it helped improve patients who had Alzheimer's. 12 out of 40 improved with the drug, 9 out of 45 improved with the placebo, and it asked for a confidence interval. First of all, the drug proportion, 12 out of 40. Placebo, 9 out of 45. 30%, 20%. Is that a big enough of a difference? P-hat, 0.25 when I pull those together, which makes sense. It's halfway between the two, and these sample sizes are about equal, so the pooled one would be approximately halfway between. Here's the work for the confidence interval. It's 99% to 2.576. When I run the numbers, you can see 0 is clearly in there. What is the difference? Could be 0, could be a negative difference, as low as 14% less, as high as 34% more. No evidence of a difference at all. As far as the tech problems go, first one says we had 56 men who took a certain drug trying to reduce the blood cholesterol levels. 56 men did reduce, 56 men in that group had a heart attack with this drug. Of the 2,030 men who had the placebo, 84 had a heart attack. Is that enough evidence of a difference? So we're going to test the hypothesis. The null, the two proportions are equal, which is to say basically that the drug is not effective. And that's just to say, well, if the drug and the placebo produce the same proportion of heart attacks, then of course it's not very effective. Or P1 is less, so people who are taking the drug less likely to have a heart attack. So that would mean there is a difference. This is right on the calculator, and I'm going to run through the calculator steps for the second problem. This one I'll just give you the results. Here's Z, here's P. Is it? Yes, it is less than 0.01. P is less than alpha, and they asked us to use a 1% significance level. It's less than alpha, but not by much. There might be some evidence, but this is somewhat borderline. And this is verified in the interval, although it was a 95% interval. The rate being lower by as much as 2.5%, maybe. Chance of having a heart attack by 2.5% at most. So, the question says, is there a significant difference? Possibly. There's some evidence to suggest it, though it's somewhat borderline. State what the interval tells you about the difference between. The interval just tells me that it could be as low as 2.5% lowered, less likely to have a heart attack with the drug, but it could very well be pretty close to zero. It wasn't exactly zero, but very, very close. Second one, what we see here is this is just the total sample size. What I'm looking at is 106 businesses were headed by men, and of those, 15 failed. 42 businesses headed by women. Of those, 7 failed. So we're going to run this on the calculator, and I'm going to show you that. So when I go into we're going to start with the test. When I go into the test, I'm going to put in 15 out of 106. It's the men. 7 out of 42 failed. Of the 42 women, 7 failed. And then when I run it, I get a z-score, not very big, p-value, quite big. So I get z-score, p-value. I'm going to run the confidence interval as well. Let's back up, go interval. It is always z for proportions, 2 proportion, 15 out of 106. Everything's still there. It is a 95%. We're just going to run that, and you can see 0 is clearly in that interval. So while almost 17% of women's businesses run by women failed, and only 14% for men, with these sample sizes, we don't have enough information to say that there is a difference. 0 is clearly in the interval. The question is there a significant difference between them? If so, by how much? No, there is not.